everybody. Welcome to another awesome episode of Profiles in Canada. I'm your host, Kayla Moniz, and I'm here today with Harrison Lowman, the managing editor at The Hub, whose mission statement is to be a non-profit digital news outlet committed to independent analysis and spirited debate about Canada's past, present, and future, and sports over 2 million users every month. At Profiles in Canada, of course, we interview Canadians who use their talents to the fullest in pursuit of the greater good. So thank you, Harrison, for joining us. Before taking on this responsibility at the Hub, Harrison actually spent a decade as a journalist with TVO's The Agenda with Steve Paikin, CBC News, CTV National News, and the Literary Review of Canada. But above that, on a personal note, Harrison is a scouter at the group that I grew up in, the 153rd Old Mill. He's a section scouter with the Cub Pack, the same pack that I go camping with. So, Harrison, thank you very much. It's good to see you. How does it feel as a journalist to be the one being interviewed for once?
I'm so pleased that we're both fighting for the greater good, Caleb. I feel so honored to be a part
That's
of
just at
that.
winter camp, my friend. But yeah, okay,
Yeah. No,
good.
I welcome being asked questions. It gets, tiring to have to come up with them. So it's good to be on the other side.
Well, that's
Yeah.
good. It's a welcome change. So because you're a scouter, Harrison, I don't want to waste the opportunity. We'll begin this episode with a new feature. Um, Scout-tastic questions. Rapid fire, Harrison. Five
Oh
questions.
God.
Let's see, let's hear the answers. Firstly, when you're sitting at a campfire, would you rather have a s'more at hand or a hot dog on a stick?
I think s'more. There's just so many different tastes that are hitting your taste buds. And there's something about it melting over top of the marshmallow. I think, and it's a whole process too, right? Like it's
Oh yeah.
the act of making it and seeing people screw up, and then you're the one that's able to make the beautiful, crispy, golden marshmallow and feeling proud, but then also maybe sharing that with someone who's got a, ash-filled heap at their at their feet. So I think definitely s'more for sure.
Harrison, you got a second career in marketing. Songs or skits?
Oh, 100% skits. You know
Yeah,
this. Like we've done them. It's
lots of
way
fun.
better to test your acting chops than your, I don't know,
Yeah, fair enough. What's your favorite
your
Scouts Canada
vibrato
camp?
or what do you call it?
Oh,
Baritone. Yeah.
so Harrison, number three, what's your favorite Scouts Canada
Um,
camp?
it was Obasatika. Sadly, it doesn't exist anymore. But I think Woodland Trails is pretty cool.
Lovely camp.
But although, what am I saying? Halliburton. Halliburton. What
Halliburton,
am I
of
saying?
course.
I remember this is going to be kind of bleak, but I remember going there as a third year Cub for what was it called? Is it Adventureland Goes North? I can't
Yeah,
remember the
that's right. I
program.
was a camp
And
counselor there,
and
actually.
and doing that and being so blown away that there were different islands that offered different activities and that you got to paddle to each one and I got to hold a gun and I got to have a bunch of independence and I remember saying to my dad, Caleb, this is very weird, but I remember saying, uh, when I die, scatter my ashes here. That's how much I love
Wow.
the place. I was like, this is so cool.
Deep moments,
Yeah.
Harrison. Okay, that's great. Well, after something like that, what Cub badge meant the most seems a little bit more trivial, but let's hear the answer.
The weirdest thing cut badge for me was the collector's badge because I
Right.
insisted on collecting like boxer shorts. And they said to me, Kayla, they're like, this is too weird. You can't do this. Like, you have to like arrange them in some way. It can't be this disorderly heap of laundry. So I carefully, put each in a little marked Ziploc and I displayed them to Baloo, who was marking us, and he finally
Amazing.
accepted. It took two tries, but that's
That's
my claim to
remarkable.
fame.
I think mine was Pokemon cards. But anyway, that brings us to our last question in this amazing category. Um, Fate of the universe on your shoulders. The Martians have a Death Star laser pointed straight at Earth. If you have to tie any knot, any rope knot, what knot is that going to be?
Weirdly, it's the sheep shank, which you would use to shorten a rope without weakening it by cutting it.
Right.
So I like to teach the kids that it's like two pincers. You flip the rope over, you grab your pincer here and you pull it through, and then I don't know, it's a cool looking
It's
knot.
a
So I
great
think
knot.
that would be mine.
Well, Harrison, I feel like I know you better, my friend. I'm glad we did this. Now let's move on to the bulk of our interview. Thanks obviously for coming. You're a journalist, Harrison. You're also a scouter. We'll get to talk about both. We can start with journalism, though. I'm very interested. Obviously, you've been working in journalism for the past decade. What brought you to that career? Where did you discover your passion for journalism?
I think part of it is kind of boring, but generationally. So like my grandfather reported for the Toronto Star for like 47 years.
Wow.
Uh, Coming out of World War II, he was tasked with reporting on the refugee crisis, and they sent him all over Europe to cover that. He was a military correspondent. Sadly, he passed away before I kind of got into journalism.
Oh,
For
too
me, I
bad.
was a young kid asking a ton of questions. I remember getting in trouble for asking too many questions, I think in grade four or something. And then I went into civics class, and I remember learning about all the personalities and the personalities within different institutions that exist in Canada. And being exposed to that sort of colorful history. It was weird to me because a lot of kids marked that as the most boring class in high school. I thought it was the most interesting. I was just blown away. Um, and then
Yeah.
just this idea of feeling like you're a jack of all trades, master of none. You're interested in a ton of different separate things, and you can kind of
Wow.
feel or become interested in things that maybe others might find uninteresting. Like, I don't know, I've interviewed people who, work in weird trades. I don't know, cement mixing, let's give her an example. And people say that's pretty boring, but you can find something interesting in almost anything. Sorry, we just have a doorbell going off here. I'll pause for a sec. So yeah, I would just say that you can find something interesting in almost anything. Uh, and that sort of curiosity, I think, is what fuels me at least. And I don't want to be in some dreary academic office studying the same thing over and over again, 1775, and I don't know, some military formation that occurred there. And I'd rather be like, I don't know, find out little things about a bunch of different stuff and in the process of doing so, talking to a ton of people and just you know, getting that back and forth.
That's great, Harrison. So you introduced the subject of all the neat experiences you've had. What's your best story? What's been your most interesting experience as a journalist?
Oh my gosh.
That you can say on a kid-friendly show. I should be very clear.
One sec. One sec. I have to check something here. Just to get the name. So I think one of the craziest experiences was producing an interview with Michael Palin. He's like one of the Pythons in Monty Python.
Oh,
And
incredible. Monty Python,
coming
yeah,
in,
the
yeah,
British
which
sketch
the
show.
British sketch, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's actually someone who is a jack of all trades. He's someone who's um what would they call it? A like an old school gentleman who's interested in so many things, a comedian, a journalist in some ways, a historian. And he had written a book about Erebus, which is one of these ships that tried to find the Northwest Passage. And he wrote a whole book on this and about the guys that were on the ship. They ended up tragically passing away, and it was a whole ordeal. And he ended up coming up to Canada because they found the wrecks recently.
Mm.
And it was a huge deal. Anyway, he wrote a book on that. It was just surreal to see him walk into the green room and for him to ask, excuse me, sir, where are your water closets? And that was a lovely thing, and taking his coat and just him doing little pranks. I was like, this guy is like, I don't know, one of the most famous comedians of all time. That was a lot of fun. Um, yeah, I'd say
Amazing.
that was a high point.
That's a great story. Many in our audience might be considering journalism, and of course, there's a wide range of journalism that one can do, from sports, entertainment, political journalism, like yourself. What advice would you give to aspiring journalists that are in our audience today?
Oh, I would just say it's weird because I just said be a jack of all trades, but in journalism, I would say find a niche. So find something you're really good at. If you're able to get a job, which is they're less and less every year.
Mhm.
Make yourself indispensable. Don't wait for someone to tell you to do something. Um, if you see an opening and an interesting story, an interesting way to approach something, go for it. And like, I don't know, prove through your actions to your colleagues that you know what you're talking about, have done something, have pursued something that others haven't, that's unique. And then I think you'll get paid back in spades. I think That would be that would be my piece of advice. Don't ask for permission. And also, like, I was a shy kid, Caleb, if you can believe it. I remember asking my brother to
Never.
like walk up to, he was like, yeah, to go
Impossible.
walk. I know, to go to like a front desk at a hotel and ask stuff because I was too scared to do it myself. I think you're forced to not be shy as a journalist. Like, you learn pretty quickly. You're tossed in the deep end. I remember first year of journalism school, it's just like you have to interview like five people for the story and you have to cold call them and you have no idea who these people are, but you just have to do it or else you're going to fail. So just, make that call, ask for that coffee date with someone in the industry, pick their brain and just do it. Like, don't sort of hesitate and find yourself getting in the weeds and planning and stuff. You just got to go for it.
That's some great advice, Harrison. I'll ask you then. So obviously, you're quite far along in your journalistic career. How did you find your niche? How did you find what got you going?
Well, I'm lucky enough to have worked for TVO, which is the provincial public broadcaster here in Ontario.
Right.
And I got my start. I hadn't left, well, I was in the midst of university and there were job placements for like a couple weeks through the program. And I just thought, I don't know, like I don't think that's enough time to really get rooted somewhere. I was interested in other shows and I just thought of, I don't know, what places am I most impressed by? What journalists I'm most inspired by? And that was Steve Paikin. And I
Yeah.
remember just going on Twitter and being like a little sleuth. You have to be a bit of an investigative sort of person sometimes when it comes to jobs. And I remember, creating a list of names of producers that worked at the show and then narrowing down, okay, this person seems to run the internship program, and then just tweeting at her and then asking to basically, have a chat and like not going through the school, getting some forms signed, I guess, on the school end. So my bases were covered there. And yeah, just meeting with them and sort of doing it myself. Yeah,
Hard
like
work.
I know that sounds weird, but it's just like,
Yeah.
hey, what kind of stuff do you want to do? It's like, okay, what kind of stuff are you watching or listening to that you think's really interesting, informative, and I don't know, doing what do we say? Fighting for the greater good.
That's
And
right.
then
I'm with you
and you're
there.
like, how do I rub shoulders with those people? How do I, cross their paths? So you basically, I don't know, we're hikers. You just basically swat your way through the woods and ensure that your path intersects with theirs. You know this, you're a lovely, friendly guy. You just expose them to how friendly and interesting you are, and then you'll find that there's probably going to be a second meeting in a few weeks.
Right. Great metaphor. Okay, Harrison, you're a journalist and you're also a scouter. Of course, you're wearing our group's necker right now. It's fantastic. I gotta ask, are there any skills that you use in one that you also use in the other?
Well, I'm a manager now. I remember in my interview for this job, I mentioned the fact that you ask, okay, what kind of skill do you have sort of overseeing people? And listen, if you can control 30 7 to 10 year olds every week, I think you can control five people in a newsroom. Control is a strong word. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what
Oversee.
you mean.
Um, but yeah, so what have I learned from scouting? That was like, I don't know. I hope through my scouting helped me in my job a lot of ways because like I learned about Canada through scouting.
Mm,
Uh, I learned to appreciate the country. I hope, through my work, as I'm talking, there's all these crossovers. I can like help make a better Canada, acknowledge where it needs to be better, offer solutions, whether they be policy solutions or otherwise, in terms of how to improve it. Um, I
right.
don't know. I want to be like a good citizen through my work in terms of the stories that we tell and put out there, the people we speak to, but then also sort of through scouting. It kind of all fits within the Venn diagrams are all sort of overlapping.
Yeah.
Where the publication I work for now is proudly Canadian. There's a tendency often in journalism to rely on like American stories or to um, I don't know, like an Americanized coverage. I don't know. I'm less interested in that. I'm happy that like our audience is prominently Canadian, predominantly Canadian, and that we're, talking about Canadian issues. Uh,
That's been a key theme in this series, actually, as as the title Profiles in Canada reveals. You've already sort of touched on it, but my next question was maybe discuss what Canada has meant for your career, or what your thoughts are, of course, in the present moment, given everything going on about our country.
Well, I wrote a column here that it was a bit chippy, but like I just think
You're a journalist, you reserve that
well,
right.
I think people should be patriotic like 365 days of the year, not just when, I don't know, there's a country or
Right.
or just a president that's sort of peeking his head over the border and yelling at us or threatening us. And it should be active citizenship as opposed to like, okay, I have a flag outside my house 365 days of the year, and uh, it shouldn't just be for a few days. I think that if you want to do something to like build a better Canada, give it some heft, you need to like put yourself out there. It can't just
Hmm.
be like symbolic. You need to do things like volunteering for things like Scouts. It's like, oh, I'm worried about the next generation of Canadians and like the problems they face as it relates to housing and like, do they have the right values and are they going to give back to their community? It's like, okay, how about you act on those worries by actually getting involved and like volunteering your time. Um,
Is volunteering for you a form of patriotism then?
oh, for sure, for sure, for sure. Like I don't know, there's people who I think as well that this is another thing I wanted to sort of write about is that um, there's like an epidemic of like loneliness and
Hmm.
also people like being if I'm going to be frank, quite individualistic and it's sometimes selfish. We're all about customization and you do you and like I can't actually do that tonight because like I'll miss my softball practice. It's like, okay, that's nice, and obviously you should do some things to improve your own health, mental health and physical health, but also like what are you doing to like help others? What are you doing to help
Right.
people in your community?
Right.
And then if there's a bunch of people working to help their communities, that all adds up into a province, into a country. So like
Yeah.
I'm more interested in is like what sacrifices have you made to like uh do something that kind of I don't know that's what impresses me most often.
It's good. It's good insight, Harrison. I will say, actually, folks at home, Harrison penned recently, or maybe it was last year, a fantastic op-ed about scouting in Canada. I encourage people to read it, specifically, obviously, in addressing that loneliness epidemic that you mentioned. Harrison, though, briefly, perhaps, why is scouting to you so important for Canada today?
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, just touching on some of the themes there, just young people and more often not young men are often misguided. There's
Hmm.
when you talk about kids as a whole too, that like there's a lot of divorces in Canada. There's a lot of kids that this is a weird story, but there's right now there's a problem in my community of young boys that are literally going up and kicking through people's doors and filming it on TikTok. And
Oh
like
my
there's a
gosh.
bunch of vandalism. And my response to that, rather than like, did someone call the police or like
Yeah.
how are we gonna get these kids? My thought is like, man, those kids should be in scouts. Like
Yeah.
clearly what these kids are not being served properly when they're so bored and they have the time to do like destructive things like that. And they think that's how they should be occupying their time. And that's what's fun and that's what's interesting. It's like, no, what's fun and interesting should be those kids like, I don't know, having a good time at camp, picking up garbage at the ravine a few steps away from the house that where they kicked in the door. Um, I don't know, giving back. If I had a chance to talk to them, they would say that I'm some weird nerd wearing some weird scarf around my neck. But I would, try to approach them again and try to convince them that there's better ways to spend your time than being disruptive. Um, yeah, it also gets, Caleb, you know this, like gets kids away from technology. There's a time and a
Right.
place, but
The time is right
um,
now, by the way, if you're watching this video.
But then, yeah, after everyone's done watching this video,
In the previous videos, to be clear, in the previous
yes,
videos.
yes,
Right. Of
they should be enjoying the great outdoors. Like
course.
Canada, like I feel like Canada was built for scouting. Um,
Yes.
talk
Yeah.
about like an environment in which uh, scouting should be thriving, and it is in many ways. Canada, like think of what how lucky we are to have the surroundings that we have, and we should work to sort of preserve them at the same time. And I think you learn about that through like experiencing them and being around them rather than being, like the map behind you on it's just some like something on the wall.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm with you, Harrison, and I have one last question for you. Thanks for being here. What piece of advice would you offer scouts looking to make a real difference in their communities today? Closing words.
What piece of advice would I offer scouts looking
Who
to
would
make a
like to make a
difference?
real difference in their communities today?
Um, I would just say, uh, you have to like go for it. If you're a scouter and you're walking past, this happened to me. If you're walking past, it was, during the COVID years, um, and looking at seniors in a retirement home, looking like we talked about, lonely, looking sad, um, instead of thinking, oh, that's sad, and letting that, thought escape your mind a few seconds later, like going into the seniors residence and being like, hey, I have like you basically have an army of volunteers. You have a squad at your fingertips that you can deploy and asking like, hey, how can I help? Like, is there anything like, you know, we've been part of this community since 1936. I don't know, you guys have been here for a certain amount of time. The people that live in your residence are Canadians who have all pitched in to help build the country that exists today. How can we like help them? How can we make their lives just a little bit better? Because we owe it to them. Like I think that's a weird, again, they seem like old-fashioned, dusty phrases, but like we have a responsibility. If something's going wrong in the community like that, I don't know, there's a failure there that, hopefully scouting groups can often step in to try and help fix. Can't always fix it. Sometimes it's beyond our control, but yeah, I think that that we could deploy our tiny little armies here and there across communities to fill gaps and try and make things work better for the country.
That's great, Harrison. Well, thank you so much for sharing your time with us today, and of course for your good work with the 153rd. I will say, for the folks at home, like many groups across the country during the past pandemic, the 153rd Old Mill R group was hit particularly hard, and it was tough to watch. But Harrison didn't just watch, and him with his friend, with his old scouter, his dad, and of course our amazing group commissioner, none of whom have kids in the program. They started that group up again and is currently alive and very well with an active beaver, cub, and scout sections. So thank you for joining us. And for folks at home who are interested in perhaps volunteering with scouts like Harrison has done, scouts.ca/volunteer is the place to go for you. Anyone can volunteer, age 14 and up, even an accomplished political journalist. To everyone at home, thank you for joining us. Our next episode is going to be in 2 weeks' time with another great Canadian who uses their talents to the fullest and, of course, in the service of our country and the common good. I look forward to seeing you then, and thanks so much. Until next time,
Thank
cheers.
you.